slaves in Egypt. We belong to the Father, ain't no pledge of allegiance. Both to celebrate that killing that he didn't need to. Both to keep the holy days, don't be like the heathen. Said that for a reason. We in Babylon, coming back without a warning like an avalanche. Think you gon' keep burning people, he ain't having all. All praise to y'all, you amazing.
You don't deserve reparations, okay? That don't mean you don't deserve nothing. You deserve your rent. See, they want you begging for reparations. Master, can I please have my reparations? You finally stopped whooping me. You put the whip away. Can I please have my reparations so I can finally get my stuff together, please, Master? See, this what you doing, right? Do the landlord come up to you when your rent is late and be, please, can you pay me? No, that's not how it go down. I need my rent or you can get up out of my house. That's how that go down. Who's in the power? Who's in the situation of power when you ask them for rent? And who in the situation of power when you ask for reparations? See, this is what you got to start getting, right? Because they don't want you to be in no situation of power. They want you to be, y'all, how do any of y'all act when anybody else owe you money? Because 99%, I ain't going to say that, because half of the crimes that get committed is over money or a woman, usually. That's most of them right there. That's most of them, okay? You can sprinkle in the drugs, okay? There's about 3 reasons people go to jail. Money, drugs.
As more of us wake up, the more information we get, we start to find out the real truth of America.
Question we have to ask ourselves, how were they in charge of bringing over so-called black people from Africa to America? For 400 years, supposedly this was happening, when they couldn't even fly their own flag according to the hallowed founding fathers, right? The ones on Mount Rushmore, right? These people they pray to, right? According to the people they pray to, their founding fathers. What a founding father said, they couldn't fly their own flag in their own country, okay? Okay? And this was the first and third presidents who said this. And I got the letter to prove it. And we'll post it up so you can just see. So you go look it up and check it out for yourself. Okay? See, this isn't maybe. See, they needed permission from so-called black people to fly their own flag right here in America. The same America that they supposedly were free in the whole time after they defeated the British. The America that they supposedly owned the whole time after they freed the British, right? The same America that they supposedly brought over 20 million African slaves from Africa, right? After they defeated the British, right? But now they need, according to Thomas Jefferson, now they need permission from so-called black people to fly their own flag when black folks is the slaves from Africa. Now let's think a little further. Since according to the story, they were the slave master of 20 million Africans that they brought here, right? It only took, 25 so-called white people to bring over 1,000 people on one ship. They was all boated down and, they only took 25 because they had the guns and we were scared, right? And we just said, here you go, lock us up, right? Right? So if anything, shouldn't they need, right? Because they need permission from so-called black people when they was just handing, when they was just bringing us over by the millions. But at the same time, they need permission from so-called black people to fly their own flag. So if anything, shouldn't they need to get permission if they need permission at all? Right? According to the first and third president, Shouldn't they need to get that permission from some other one of their white friends who was helping them bring over all those 20 million Africans from Africa to America? That's why we call African Americans, right? Because we got brought over by 20 million of us got brought over by a handful of so-called white people, right? See? But this also has to do with why they don't owe us reparations. And it's time for us to stop asking for reparations. Okay? Every time we ask, it makes us look like fools. Okay? To the people we are asking reparations from. And it confirms to those same people that we remain under a hard mind control. And we don't know who we are. Every time we ask for reparations, it's confirmation that y'all don't know who you are, and we want to keep it that way. See, they used to pay us rent to do business here, but we've forgotten that fact. So we don't need reparations. We need our rent, and we need our rent, and we need the interest on top of our back rent that they haven't been paying us since July 4th, 1830. Okay? That's what we need. We don't need no reparations. You ask them for reparations and they look around and they like, oh, the reparations been paid. And then they go back to laughing and next subject. See? Everybody, think about it. Everybody in the whole world been paid reparations except for us. How come? See? Think about that. Why? Why does everybody get reparations but us? Because you wasn't the slaves is why, okay? That's how come. And you're not getting reparations. You don't deserve reparations, okay? That don't mean you don't deserve nothing. You deserve your rent. See? They want you begging for reparations. Master, can I please have my reparations? You finally stopped whooping me. You put the whip away. Can I please have my reparations so I can finally get my stuff together? Please, master. See? This what you doing, right? Do the landlord come up to you when your rent is late and be, please, can you pay me? No. That's not how it go down. I need my rent or you can get up out of my house. That's how that go down. Who's in the power? Who's in the situation of power when you ask them for rent? And who in the situation of power when you ask for reparations? See, this is what you got to start getting, right? Because they don't want you to be in no situation of power. They want you to be, y'all, how do any of y'all act when anybody else owe you money? Because 99%, I ain't going to say that, because half of the crimes that get committed is over money or a woman, usually. That's most of them right there. That's most of them. Okay. You can sprinkle in the drugs, okay? There's about 3 reasons people go to jail. Money, drugs, or a woman. Those are the things. But the one thing that you're going to get into it real quick with any somebody owe you money, are they not going to pay you? They not paying you your money. Oh, that's the quickest way to get into it with somebody. And how many of y'all is just gonna let somebody owe you money and just be like, oh, it's cool. No, you don't really owe me that. No, y'all don't. See, that's not how y'all are. See, it's just because you don't know they owe you money. See, because if you knew they owed you money and you knew they was late on their rent for 200 years almost, and this is really yours, see, you would have a different perspective instead of sitting up there, because they laugh at you every time you ask for reparations. Please, can I have, please, master, can we please have our reparations? He ain't never going to give us reparations. No, he's not. He got his reparations. You was the slave master. He was the slave. He laughing at you. He just erased your memory and traded places with you. Okay? Y'all gotta get this. Okay? You have to wake up to this. You're not woke until you know what I'm talking about. Okay? See? We made a deal with the so-called Black Queen of England, Elizabeth I, to help her control her prison population in the year 1580. They all came here in the first place. This is how all of them came here, as settlers and colonists, okay? Right? Because they'll admit to you that they came here as settlers and colonists. They'll admit to you. They'll admit that. You can't tell them. They will never admit, we didn't come over here as no slaves. We was slave master. Not some of them came over. All of them came over as settlers and colonists. But see, they say that and they'll admit to it because they know that we don't know what a settler and a colonist is. Okay? See, so they have a lot of fun claiming they came here as settlers and colonists because they did. And they tell them the truth, so they feel good about it. Okay? They came here as exactly what they say they came here as, settlers and colonists. But we don't know that the word settler and colonist means prisoner. See, we don't know that part, right? Prisoners were called settlers and colonists at this time. They didn't use the term prisoner. And they change words all the time, just like they change our name. That's not the only thing they change. Anytime they want to change something, it's called rebranding. Okay? We put a new label on it, package it up in a new box. It's still the same thing, and we'll sell it to them. Now all of a sudden everybody want it. That's all they do. They do the same thing with anything. They do this with a lot of things. Okay? They just change the name of it. Okay? We don't know that the 13 colonies were all companies that were doing business as what today we call prisons. Just like prisons today are private companies that stockholders invest in, and they do business as private prisons. Okay? Ice Cube told you the same people who own the prisons own the record labels. Okay? See, you need to let that sink in for 2 seconds. The same people who own the prisons own the record labels. It don't take, we can do 1 and 1 is 2. Okay? Right? Just sit and let that sink in and think about that. Okay? See? The same thing applied back then. And this is what was really happening back then. Okay? They called prisons colonies and settlements. And who lived on colonies and settlements? Colonists and settlers. Okay? And they changed the name of the people who are locked up in colonies and settlements into prisons and prisoners. They just changed the name. They just changed the name. Anyone claiming that their ancestors came here to what today we call America as settlers and colonists, they are admitting the fact that their ancestors came here as prisoners. Okay? See? These settlers and colonists were the indentured servants that came to America. And what is an indentured servant? And how did the indentured servants come here to America in the first place? See, the indentured servants came to America because indentured servitude was the result of a prison sentence. When you became an indentured servant, that was because you got handed a prison sentence. Okay? They called this prison sentence penal transportation. And it started with Queen Elizabeth in the year 1580. Queen Elizabeth I, the so-called Black Queen Elizabeth. Okay? But they really started ramping it up when so-called white people started to put on what today we call blackface, so they could blend in with the night so that they could commit crimes. We all think, and they teach us that Blackface is just them making fun of us. And we've all seen how they portray us while using blackface. And if you haven't seen, then we'll just throw up a couple of examples so you can see how they like to portray us in their blackface, right? Okay, because this one of their favorite things to do. They have good time putting on blackface, okay? They have parades and festivals and celebrations where they all get together and make up excuses for putting on their blackface, right? And I'm talking about to this day. To this day, they got celebrations all over the place where they make up excuses to put on blackface and make fun of us. This is what they do. This isn't maybe, okay? This is just what they do. And they have a great reason for doing it that they'll never ever admit to. But the truth of the matter is that they were committing so many crimes while painting their faces black to blend in with the night so they wouldn't get caught committing those crimes, that the British government had to pass what is called the Black Acts of 1723. For those of you who don't know what the Black Acts of 1723 are, this is where them putting on blackface, where they put on their black faces and make fun of us. See, this is where it all started. But they didn't start by putting on blackface to make fun of us. See, it didn't start as something that they're doing to make fun of us. See, no, they were putting on blackface so they could commit crimes. See, they try to downplay this and act like this just happened a little bit. That was just a couple people that happened to. But the government wouldn't pass and didn't pass an entire law and put an entire law in place, officially called an act for the more effectual punishing wicked and evil disposed persons going armed in disguise and doing injuries and violence to the persons and properties of his majesty's subjects, and for the more speedy bringing the offenders to justice. That's the whole name of the act. And the short version of the act is called the Black Acts of 1723, because it wasn't just some handful of people who was painting their faces black to commit crimes, right? They didn't go through all this for just a handful of people, okay? They made an entire act which the punishment was either death, okay, or getting sentenced to penal transportation, because they were going crazy with it is why they had to pass an act for it, okay? This is why the government of Great Britain felt the need to pass the act, and not only pass the act, but make 350 different offenses punishable by death if you got caught putting on some blackface, okay? You was gonna get the death sentence over putting on some blackface, okay? If you just thought, oh, I'm gonna just throw on some blackface, this ain't no big deal, you would get the death sentence for that. See, putting on blackface in 1723 would get you the death sentence. So it wasn't funny back then, right? It wasn't funny back then. They weren't laughing and making jokes when they would watch people they knew get hanged in front of the entire town. See, they wasn't laughing then. See. And this is why the 13 colonies just kept growing so fast. Because like I said, they started to get sent here in the year 1580. And by Bacon's Rebellion in 1676, their numbers had grown so large that they tried their first takeover of the prison. They weren't successful and wouldn't be successful till another 100 years later. But this was the first attempt at freedom. So going back to the original question, how were they in charge of anything when they were all coming here as colonists and settlers, and we just found out and broke it down that colonists and settlers are all prisoners, okay? Prisoners who was getting caught wearing blackface to blend in with the night so they could commit crimes, okay? Who could it have been who felt the need to paint their faces black so that they could blend in with the night to commit a crime. Could it have been what today we call black people? Or could it have been what today we call so-called white people in Europe? Okay? So we know exactly who was getting sent here for painting their faces black. And we also know who just can't stop painting their faces black to this day. Every single chance they get, at every single parade and celebration and festival, at every single chance they get, they run around marching the streets wearing blackface. Right? To this day. And this isn't a secret. This is what they do. Yeah. And they tell you, oh, we can do it. It's not for that. It's for tradition. It's our ancient ancestors' tradition. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with you Negroes. Mm-hmm. That's what they tell us. See? But it's time for y'all Negroes to know the truth about what they really doing it for and where it really started. Okay? When they got their freedom on July 4th, 1830, the real July 4th that they celebrate, this is the same year that they flipped blackface around on us in the same way they flipped St. Peter getting his head shaved for continuing to preach Christianity. Okay? Just like what they did with tonsure, which is a Christian ritual. The rule was that the newly baptized have to shave their heads. They stopped doing this in 1972 officially. And a lot of their rituals all went underground because they don't want people starting to put these things together. Okay? But this comes from when they say St. Peter's head, the disciple of Jesus, was shaved by those who did not believe his word, as if in mockery. And so his enemies, those black heathens and heretics, see, they were paid back by Christ himself. When they say that, the teacher Christ blessed this shaven head, which was shaven in disgrace and in dishonor, and changed his dishonor into honor. He changed his ridicule into praise. See, this is when they started their tonsure rituals. And they started shaving their heads bald or all the way bald with just a little slit of hair going around, right? The George Jefferson look, right? Because they hate the king and they hate the crown that the king wears so bad. See, they never had a golden crown to wear with rubies and emeralds and diamonds and topaz and sapphires. They never had that. So they said they'll shave their hair like Peter got his head shaven in ridicule and dishonor and mockery and make that a good thing. And that'll be the crown that symbolizes the crown of thorns that Christ wore. Since anybody can grow their hair and cut it however they want for free. You don't need no money for the crown that they got. Okay? But not to get off track, they did the same thing with blackface when the prisoners that were getting sent here to America, but were really the so-called white slaves, okay? Which they rebranded themselves at that. It's not me calling them that. They started calling themselves that. The abolitionists who were trying to free them started calling themselves that. Okay? Right? When these so-called white slaves were freed from their prisons on July 4th, 1830, Andrew Jackson, the Pope and his allies, the French army of the French Revolution, and the African army that freed these prisoners in the South. And this isn't like, maybe this has happened. No, this happened. Okay? This led to the Civil War, where all of the prisoners in the South got their freedom. Okay? By way of the Emancipation Proclamation. But they've tricked you into believing that Abe Lincoln was freeing you. No, that's not how it went down. Not at all. They turned around and made was a mockery to them, a mockery to you, and started painting their faces black to make fun of you and to celebrate taking you over. Once they got freed from the prisons that you sent them to by the French and African armies for wearing blackface, so they could blend in with the night, so they could commit crimes. Okay? They was trying to commit crimes without getting caught. They got freed by the armies led by the Christian church, who they are very loyal to, along with their allies. Because, see, America didn't start out as a Christian country, right? I go over all that in the book as well. Like I said, it's lostalongtheway.org. Get your copy, okay? And after the prisoners were freed here in America, these colonists and settlers, after they got freed by the French and African armies on July 4th, 1830, they left these freed prisoners here with us in our depleted army and started putting them in charge of the prisons that they got freed from. Okay? Since our army was depleted and already disbanded, they started to commit genocide on us as a people and went to war against our women and children and families. Okay? They put us on the Trail of Tears in that very same year. Okay? If we were to dare claim our Indian ancestry. See, they let us stay on our land if we claim to be Africans.
Devil trying to take my mind. I've been doing fine. Holy son, I don't know where he been on my line. Can you take this pain away? Yeah. Talk to my knees, I need to pray. Yeah. My flesh and heart might really fail. Keep my faith in y'all, cause I ain't trying to go to hell. I'm waiting on the Father, having patience like a snail. Keep my faith in y'all, whatever happens is your will. I be going through it, but I tell them all is well. Nobody told me that the road would be easy, and I don't believe he want me this far to leave me. Nobody told me that the road would be easy, and I don't believe he want me this far to leave me. The devil trying to take my soul, no way.